You know him as Principal Strickland from Back to the Future. Make some noise for Mr. James Tobin! There we go. You come all the way near me, James. Thank you. Whether you love him or love to hate him more as Griff or Buford or Biff, I want you to make some noise for Mr. Tom Wilson!
Please sit down. Please sit down. Thank you. Please sit down. You're embarrassing me. They're still back there. Please sit down.
She played a character that redefined mommy issues in Lorraine Baines McFly. I want you to make some noise, Dallas. Brooklyn Thompson! That's right. Very big deal. We have an inventor of the flux capacitor. You know him as Emmett Brown. Make some noise for Christopher Lloyd! And of course, our hero. Don't call him chicken, it'll make things awkward. You know him as Marty McFly, but of course you know and love him as Michael J. Fox! Give it up for the entire cast of Back to the Future, guys! All right. Welcome to Dallas, guys. How was Dallas for now? Yeah. Texas, man. It's a great state. Yes, I'm playing to the crowd, guys.
Y'all are awesome, for sure.
All right. Well, the first question I have it's a little controversial. You guys, there's this little movie out there called Avengers Endgame. It just made a couple dollars at the movie theaters. I'm not going to quiz you on the plot of that movie, but if you don't know this, they do reference Back to the Future a few times in that movie. Have you guys all seen Avengers Endgame? I'm not going to spoil anything. I guess my question related to that is, like, do you automatically, when you get these references, name drop Back to the Future and other films, does it ever kind of get old? Does it ever, like, you're like, oh yeah, of course, a movie that involves some time travel reference Back to the Future, la-di-da, la-di-da. Or does it ever, like, get old? Like, or is it always feel fresh, that this is constantly part of the zeitgeist? Yeah, that's a good response.
I get old.
Do you remember when those Avengers sneaked into our photo shoot and like were fans of us? Do you remember that?
My son couldn't believe. Like, honestly, I didn't know who gentleman was. You know, he wanted to
Low-key.
take a picture with me. So I bring this photo back, and my son goes, "You met Thor?"
Didn't happen.
I did a thing the other day, I mean, earlier last summer I did it, and then, it's a long story, it's another story I'll tell. But a young filmmaker named Stephen Bristol did a movie called See You Yesterday. And it was about a black kid just that was really get shot, he got back in time to find out what happened. Shot by a cop, but it was funny to come. But they for the time travel machine, they traveled back in time, and I played their science teacher who gave them the yellow grade because no one has time travel bullshit. It's really fun to do that, you know, and like in any of these references you make, it's just so, it's great, it's made it perfect. You left something that resonated beyond where you brought it upon.
Yeah.
But I mean, it began with Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, right.
In the State of the Union address, saying, and as Doc Brown says in Back to the Future, where we're going, we don't need roads. And that to be mentioned in a presidential State of the Union address was incredible. But as you say, the mentions to Back to the Future within the zeitgeist have never stopped.
No.
They haven't even weakened. They've gotten stronger. And in Avengers there's a wonderful movie called Sing Street. A beautiful independent movie. It's a beautiful movie, isn't it? It's great. See it if you rent it or whatever. Sing Street, it's called. But in the middle of it, they have a dance at the school, and you can see that they just base the whole scene on Back to the Future, the various shots and everything. It's just kind of an homage to Back to the Future, but they show it everywhere.
Yeah, and it's funny because there are some people out there that have not seen Back to the Future. They exist, and yet they still know Doc Brown, DeLorean, flux capacitor. It's like just permeated culture so much that it's part of the shorthand. So I find it fascinating, but they do call out Back to the Future and Avengers. Just saying. But Tom, you mentioned the Comic Cons. You know, you guys have done a couple of these at this point. Has it impacted your own kind of love and appreciation for the franchise? Because of course you did this and it was popular and part of your life and great for careers and everything. But now that you're doing this, you know, traveling all over, interacting with fans, has it kind of heightened how you think of and appreciate the franchise itself? Leah, do you want to start?
It's interesting because it felt like there was, it was such a big movie. It was like the #1 movie for the whole summer, basically, except for 1 week when it came out, which never happens. And then it felt like somewhere in the 90s or the 00s that it kind of went on the lull. But then it just was reborn, and it's been so lovely to gather together and to celebrate. And look at you, amazing fans. And, probably half of you weren't born. It's so exciting for us that our work resonates, and people are showing it to their kids and then their kids. My mother-in-law has watched the movie with her daughter, her daughter's daughter, and her daughters. So, 4 generations of people, and that's just amazing.
It's an amazing privilege. It's like, you can't even put into words to see people come up that have, what they know or not, have impacted your life. It had, all you people have made my life. I appreciate it. You get a little choked up because it's so beautiful and it's so like for someone to dress up like Doc or these guys here, you know what I mean? It's just wonderful. It's a great privilege.
It's always interesting within the arts to try to impart to somebody how much what they did meant to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think all of us have been in that position, and even at a con. Going up to Adam West, Batman, or, you know, I was a young actor in New York, and I loved the movie My Dinner with Andre, and I got to meet Wallace Shawn, you know, and Wally and I have a lunch, and you're trying to tell the person, you know, it meant so much to me, and I love it so much, but we're just human beings.
Yeah.
So the other person can just sort of listen and go, thank you, I get that, you know, I get how much you love it, because I love things too, and as you said, your love for Back to the Future only grows because you look at the video introduction here, and every time I see it, I'm like, geez, man, these movies were good. But it is true within all of us, to see a movie or to see a play sometimes or something, even athletes, you just want to say, boy, you just, you know, mean a lot to me. And they say, well, thank you. And you always feel like, I don't think you're feeling it as much as I am.
Like, really, I really mean it. Like that.
I want you to do a cartwheel or something. I'm really feeling this. And they're like, thank you. Yeah, I know.
I'm you know, you go to a movie that's a big hit, and it's a hit for a while, and then it fades away. And it just doesn't happen to Back to the Future. It seems as vital, and people are as excited to see it as they were back whenever it was born. But so many people come up to me at Comic-Cons and explain how the movie impacted their lives, where they made career choices because they were affected by the movie, to be scientists or surgeons or physicists or whatever, or they grew up in circumstances that weren't that happy, say, and Back to the Future was kind of something they could go back to every night when they were growing up and look at that, and it gave them some feeling of pessimism, not pessimism, positive, you know, a positive feel, and I think that's great. And it keeps going on and on and on.
What I get a lot is particular thing that really means a lot to me is because as musicians they come up to me and tell me they start playing guitar because of John Leeds in Back to the Future. And John Mayer and someone told me to pick up the guitar with him. And I stink it. And I don't know how to play those notes, so we can edit. It's my own song I play now. But I'm really flattered to hear this great guitarist say that is definitely excited about the guitar.
Yeah. So, well, and I guess playing off of that, and even the Wallace Shawn and Adam West kind of anecdote, are there moments where you've gone up to speak to someone that you respect and expecting one kind of dynamic, and then it flip-flopped and they say, like, oh my God, like Back to the Future, like John Mayer's example, Adam West or Wallace Shawn. Any other ones where it's just like, oh no, you can't be a fan of me, I'm a fan of Back to the Future.
It happens at auditions, and I'm like, well then give me the job. You're really that big of a fan, why am I reading these lines? Does that ever happen to you?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
All the time. All the time. They
We
say,
auditioned last year together.
we did. There's a, oh my gosh.
Love that movie.
Before we
We're
do
so
anything,
good.
let me just say what an honor it is to have you here. I mean, you're a legend. I'm auditioning for the pizza delivery guy. Come on. Just give it to me. It's one day's work. Come on. Oh, but legend. We don't want you for this, but oh, what an honor. I'm honored. Wasn't it an honor? Boy, he's lost it. He wasn't very good, but what an honor. Thank you. No, we don't validate. Thank you.
No, it happens a lot. It's always weird. Like, I remember trying to get Brad Pitt's signature. My sister really wanted it, and I went up to Brad Pitt, and I had turned off my famous button. So I was like, hi, can I? And he goes, oh, Lance Armstrong. Oh my God. I couldn't get the signature at that point.
It's unfortunate for your sister, I guess, that you didn't get the signature.
Yeah, but he was really nice.
I was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in So we got a picture taken, and it wasn't until the next day, like, you go online and you see the puts all the pictures up. Yeah, like that. And I said, Jesus, me and Chris. He had this shot with white hair. And I said, this was Marty and Doc. So I printed it on Instagram. They said, I said, Marty and Doc, and Brad Man.
And Chris, do you have any like examples of like maybe when you've met someone and then the dynamic switch where they're like, oh, like I'm you know somebody that you respect, but they in turn say, I'm a fan of Doc Brown, I'm a fan of your work.
Yeah, it's sort of happened. Nobody's fallen down.
I doubt that. I highly doubt that.
But yeah, there's people who, like I say, the film made a big impression, especially people growing up. If they were women, what the hell?
I don't know what's going on, but is your mic dead, Chris? Do you want me to switch?
No, I'm good.
Still live? Okay, all right.
Where was I?
And really, I'm so glad that with my work, I've been able to inspire so many mafia thugs into lives of crime. It's really heartwarming.
I inspired some weird moms. So many.
And maybe the entire series of Game of Thrones, based on.
I'll take that credit.
Yeah.
I'll take Game of Thrones. Another job I didn't get.
James, how about you? I mean, with your involvement in the con scene, so the Comic-Con world, what's been your impression so far of like interacting with fans? Like, you know, Serpico and Top Gun and all these amazing movie credits, and like, and yes, certainly. Were you shocked to see people showing up and showing such love for Principal Strickland, who was not necessarily the most warm and fuzzy guy?
Yeah, I'm a little amazed by that, but first of all, did I detect a slacker out there?
I was just curious about your take on the whole Comic-Con world, and
Did you have fun at the Comic-Con?
yeah, do you have fun at the Comic-Cons?
What about the Comic-Con?
Do you like this scene? Do you like it?
I'm amazed at it. I mean, after all these years, what is it, 31 years we did Back to the Future, 31 years ago? And all these lovely people still care about our characters. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, and like, I mean, what I love to see with like the Comic-Con culture is I was pointing out these people right in the front row who are cosplaying as Marty if Marty had stayed in 1885. And the people making it their own is fascinating. Do you have any kind of anecdotes about when it just sort of blows you away when someone makes their own DeLorean or puts their own spin on Back to the Future, introduces their own personality into a costume or a car or anything like that?
It's amazing when you see some of those cars come in the world with so interesting, so loud. And it's amazing. When people have that ingenuity. Like that, I think of an idea, go and they stand beyond the movie, and the movie's alive and amazing. You don't just go, that's really cool. You know, I don't have a mic, because I think it's on my hand. So the other thing when you go, I have to stand the hand here in my pocket, like shift my butt. I think it was time as operators. CDs of the 60s and 70s. I'm 75. At the start of this surgery,
yes, there are many.
Yeah.
There are many punk rock bands called, the Mad Dog,
Yeah.
Tannins, Butthead, Biff. There was early. I mean, years ago there was a Reliant K song called "Hello McFly." There's been, all kinds of things that have gone into the culture.
And then there's tattoos.
Oh yeah. So I've seen some in the front row. There's one gentleman right up there that has one.
Can you imagine? And I've seen so many of them having a giant me on your thigh. That is sissy.
Sometimes their signatures get tattooed on
Yeah,
people too.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, and so Tom, you're currently appearing on a TV series called Legends of Tomorrow on CW. Yeah. So a show that heavily involves time travel. Does it ever stop with people peppering you with Back to the Future and stuff? Even though you're there to play an entirely different character, I'm sure people are just like, so there's this line and scene we have to run. What about Back to the Future?
Yes, that happens all the time. How could it not?
Yeah.
How could it not? Everyone. I mean, I would do it. I would do it if I met James somewhere and we were just having a lunch.
Yeah.
I would eventually say, boy, I'd love to. I love Prince of the City, or I love Serpico. You sort of have to, and I understand that because
Yeah.
I do it. I do it with the actors that I meet at the cons, and it's a wonderful thing. I know we're going to get there. But it's just how long the person feels they have to soften me up. They have to, we have to talk. Well, I'll ask about his family, and then I'll do that, and I'll say, you may hate this, but let's talk about Back to the Future for the next 45 minutes. So we do.
Yeah.
I wrote a song about it, and I made a postcard about it, and I made, I've tried as an artist, to address that in a funny way.
Yeah.
It seemed like at the beginnings of thinking, this thing is going to be huge, and clearly I'm running into some problems with that because people thinking of me as one thing. So I just thought, as an artist, I'm going to try to approach it with honesty, with humor, trying to do stand-up about it, trying to do a song about it, trying to do paintings about it, just to, within this process, not become a guy that just says, hey, if you're going to interview me, no questions about Back to the Future, I'm doing that, not become an angry guy, but just say, look, everyone has to realize that I'm an actual person, and I'm an actor, and it was all pretend. I would beat up Michael, and then they would yell cut, and then free snacks. And they're free on movies. I didn't even have to, not like discount them, free.
Chris, have you found that there's sort of this line that gets blurred where people come up to you and start quizzing you on time travel theories, expecting you to have way more information than perhaps you need to have?
Doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think they take one look at me and they just decide this guy's a clown. He doesn't know about space travel or things like that.
So you guys have been kind of reunited and spending more time with each other over the last couple of years. Have there been like memories that have kind of surfaced, like little elements about this franchise that you totally forgot about, or maybe were not even privy to at the moment, and now it like kind of enhances that experience for you, like 30 years later? Leah, did you have one?
Well, no, I mean, it's just that there's so many books that have been written, and I haven't read any of them. So people actually tell me stuff I don't even know. I mean, I was just like a girl making a movie, and so it's interesting to kind of, I should read the books.
Well, there's with a movie, there's a lot of imaginative folklore
Sure.
that will come into any pop cultural iconic thing like Back to the Future. So yeah, I just the great part is we get together and just just remembering, oh yeah, these guys are great. It's fun to hang out with them. There's no psychodrama, no like we have to handle Chris because none of that. Like everyone's none of that. No, I'm saying it's not. I'm saying it's not. No, we have fun.
We did like each other.
We do like each other. We got along.
Yeah, it's good.
Beautiful memories like I remember being in Northern California, working with a guy like Aaron Jackson. I just remember that. I remember it was a beautiful day, and it was streaming around my house that night, and Tim Monica, the Dallas coach was there, and we were Patty. Where did you go? And it was like 4 miles long. And there was so great. I just remember that. I just remember that. Sundown, and then tree, doing their Jacksons, and it was just a great moment.
Every lunch, I'm a kid from Philadelphia, you know, I didn't know how to ride a horse or quick draw a gun or throw a rope over my head. And the stuntman says, hey Tom, you know, we're taking the horses, we're gonna exercise the horses, take them up this hill for the lunch hour. Do you wanna come with us? You want me to like ride with you? Yeah, okay, so they'd saddle my horse and I decided to do it every day. I wouldn't have lunch. And I would just go up with stuntmen and go up the Sierra, the foothills of the Sierra on horseback. And I'm from Philadelphia, and you're with stuntmen, and we're all dressed like cowboys. And we're kind of loping with the horses here, and you just, in your head, you hear dun, 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 dun. I'm a cowboy. I'm a cowboy with the stuntmen. And it's just, you couldn't believe you could have that kind of experience.
Well, weren't you screening movies like like during the day? Like was it Bob Zemeckis that was showing you movies?
Bob Zemeckis said, yeah, what I'm thinking of with Mad Dog Tannen is Lee Marvin's performance in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Mm-hmm. If you haven't seen that movie, it's an old black and white John Ford movie. Boy, see it. What a great movie. And Lee Marvin, so I had that, it's called a cork. It's like that short whip with the silver stud on it that you can hit a bar. And when I do that, that was for Lee Marvin because he had one in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. And that is where the term pilgrim came from. John Wayne started calling everybody, because John Wayne called Jimmy Stewart, well, pilgrim, we're gonna go out here. So it was the first scene that we shot in the third one. And the line is, what's your name, dude? To Michael, to Marty. And I come in, you know, and I mean, what guy wouldn't want to do that? That's a dream. I've had spurs on. So you're walking and it goes, ching, 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 you know, and you push open the saloon doors. Ching, ching, ching. And, you know, and I'm trying to be the tough guy, trying to be Lee Marvin. What's your name, Pilgrim? I said Pilgrim, darn. It was 2. Again, take over. So I looked at a lot of Lee Marvin stuff. Well, it was Lee Marvin in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance and Jack Palance in Shane. If you haven't seen Shane, man, Jack Palance is the bad guy, like a gunslinger in that movie. Wow, that's a deadly guy. So it was, if I may, just one more second, guys, because one of the great moments in my career, we have a table, and it's Harry Carey Jr. and Pat Buttram, right, and Doug Taylor, historic Hollywood actors from the Westerns, and they didn't know about any of this. And one time, they called me over, Pat Buttram, Tom, come over here. You know, we've been talking, guys, here. You kind of remind us of Lee Marvin in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Thanks, fellas.
Yeah.
That's all. I'll stop talking now.
So apparently Tom was hanging out with cowboys, watching movies, and riding horses during production. Did Bob Zemeckis invite you guys? Did he, direct you on any movies that he wanted you to watch to kind of set you on the path of your respective characters?
No, mine was completely original. I made it all up in my head. No, he didn't ask me to see it. I don't know. Did he ask you to watch any movies? No.
I don't remember that.
Just you.
He told you to watch She Wore a Yellow Ribbon.
I'm jealous.
Remember She Wore a Yellow Ribbon?
You're lying.
Because that's what I do.
I listened to music. That's what I did. I listened to Mr. Sandman to get into character.
Yeah.
Because I really wasn't Lorraine McFly. So in order to get like that silly kind of in heat thing, I would just be like, bum, 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 bum. And I would it would just get me in that crazy mood of that crazy character. But I had to do it a lot because it was, easy to kind of slip out of that loony girl.
Yeah.
And but that's all I did. And I made sure I always had like the coins, like from 1954 in my purse or something.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I always had the coins. But did you watch any movies? Prepare for part. You didn't have any time.
It was, I used to, one thing that I did was, I should say, what a nasty movie. I read a script and I said, he's guitar playing, skateboard riding, cruel chasing, slap. I said, that's me. I'm not doing it. I'm sure. And then we did it was like a usual influence on John Lucy, and Orly, Jimmy Hendrix, Pete Townsend, Pete Page, and Wayne Harder. So we were really big Pete Townsend and Miller. So all that stuff in there, and it's a single to the team. That was the problem.
I always loved the way you prepared physically, though. Like, you really worked on the character physically, about how you would slide across things and kick up the board. You were very, your physical comedy was so prepared and beautiful. I was always so impressed.
I'm impressed with you.
Oh.
I think you're fabulous, Jim.
Well, I'm curious, with James coming into this project, what was your kind of impression of Back to the Future? Like, was it just like, this is just a job, and this may not have that much of a legacy, or what was your thoughts stepping into this role, and then, returning for it?
Well, for me, I'm a New York actor, and I was Robert Zemeckis called me in New York to come and do this movie, and I didn't know who he was, and I always wanted to go to Hollywood, so I said, okay, this is my chance to go to Hollywood. So I went out, and it was a fun movie, it was a nice movie, it was good, but I don't think anyone really understood the impact that it would have when it finally opened.
Right.
And it was quite surprising.
I mean, in a character, a principal on the surface is like, may not be the most exciting thing that we take away from it, and yet you imbued it with such personality and is so memorable that we do know we automatically hear your voice in our head. Slackers. I hear it a lot, actually.
Well, I have to give credit to Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis for coming up with that line, slacker. And I've actually heard it used on the floor of the U.S. Senate.
Probably for good reason. So the movie was also adapted into a children's book. This really lovely, colorful children's
Beautiful
book.
illustrations, isn't
Beautiful,
it?
beautiful illustrations in it. And I'm curious, like, why you think that this is a story that also can apply and translate to little ones, not just like big nerds like me, and then people in the high school or whatever, but specifically little kids. Why does this movie have legs for them?
I think there's different levels. That's what's so great about the movie. Like I was saying, you can get different things out of it for the different ages, and I think it was really well crafted. And it's also really interesting that I've heard Michael say this before. It was nostalgia for the 50s, and now it's nostalgia for the 80s. So it's kind of had legs that way, And I think that everybody can get something different out of the movie.
Anyone else want to?
Well, it's such a simple story.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a simple story, which is what simple stories are. Just they last, they work, people love them. You build a time machine, you go back, uh-oh, you meet your parents. You meet your mom and dad. What are they like? Oh, your dad's having a hard time, and you have to teach your dad to stand up for himself. And it's a great story that just resonates with people. You know, time machine, science fiction, go back, your mom and dad, and try to help your dad. That works.
And
Right.
then your mom falls in love with you. Oops.
I think they largely leave that subplot toned down for the kids' book,
Yeah.
but you know.
But apparently there's a musical in London, and I bet it's a big part of that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Look at Oedipus.
Yeah.
It feels good. But one thing I'm saying to Tom's point is, I think that it's Uncle Joe and Joey. It shows that, you know, we all be felt forced in our lives. We all have an impact we made. Little things we do in life. We may not think much of them, we may not think much of ourselves. We may think there's nothing wrong and nobody knows. But it might have an impact on life, on the adventure you have, and the effect you have on the people around you. And that comes through the movie, that everything matters.
Yeah. Well, certainly. And I think there's also this theme of like belief that people can change and things can get better, and that and believing in another person. I think that's really that's what drives the Marty and Doc relationship. Is Doc sees something in this kid. He's like, this kid can be great. And I guess like, well, Chris, was there essentially like a Doc Brown in your life? Was there someone that like for you kind of was this person that believed in you that kind of really lifted you up?
Yeah, that was me.
Actually, in a sense, it was. I mean, I just felt Doc is this genius who, as crazy as he is, he's got a knack at coming up with these solutions to big universal problems. And I always find that fascinating. You know, like Einstein, who lived near a train station with a big clock, and the trains would go by, and he worked at a patent office nearby. But I read his biography, when I read, he was always thinking about the time on that train station tower, and the speed the train was going, and how fast something would respond to the speed of the train if you bounced the ball inside the train. I mean, it's like, and then he comes up with E equals MC squared, stuff like that. That, you know, I thought sort of Einstein was kind of a role model. And it's working. You know. And then there's another guy who, he was a conductor. His name is Leopold Stokowski. And he was a conductor for the Philadelphia Orchestra for a long time, and other places. And he was amazing because he'd take Bach, classic pieces, and adapt them, and he'd improve upon them. And he conducted a piece called The Planets, and it was a record that I got. And it was showing the solar system, and in front of it, Stokowski was in profile with his arm up, you know, conducting. And I just thought that's the perfect image. So I tried to. My dad saw that picture because he had long hair. Not my dad,
Stokowski.
Stokowski. My dad would look at it and say, "I'm sure he's a great musician, but you have to have his hair like that." So that was kind of what.
That's the most I've ever heard you speak.
It's true. It's true.
It's fantastic. You know,
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Chris, especially, we see each other more now than every day. He comes to my mentor for Parkinson's, and he's there every time I ask him to do something, and he's a great friend, and he calls me into town. Great.
True story.
I've done like 6 movies with you, and that's the most I've ever heard you speak. I did 6 movies with him in one scene together. Remember, in like 2 whole years, because we did Dennis the Menace together for 6 months
That's
too.
right.
Yeah, that was me, but we didn't even get to talk to each other.
I know.
It's like, so I have to come to these things to talk to Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got to know each other doing these sort of events.
Well, sort of, I mean, since Chris just surprised us by saying, like, a lot, in a good way, it was great. I'm kind of curious about, like, other ways that you have been surprised by your colleagues on stage, like when you're in a scene or you're watching them do something. You mentioned, like, the physicality of Mike and getting into the role of Marty. What are some moments where you've been just, like, really impressed by something that one of your colleagues is doing in front of you for a scene? James, do you want to start with that?
That's a very tricky question. I mean, I'm always surprised when the other actor just speaks.
Because you're that intimidating?
I think generally, the thing that sometimes I think people don't realize about making a movie and being a professional actor is how high a wire it is, how difficult it is to do, how much work is involved. So I'm always impressed, but there's a reason why Jim got cast, certainly why Chris got cast, why Leah and Michael got cast. I mean, because they're excellent professionals. So it's always inspiring and striking when you're in a scene with an actor and the lights are on and they're thinking and we're in this together. It's a very, very, it's a wonderful feeling, and it's what, you know, I didn't get into acting so people would, call me butthead at airports for my whole life. I got into acting for that moment, this magic that's going on, and so it's not a surprise to feel that on a set with professional actors. Occasionally, it's a surprise to not feel it. You know, when the lights aren't on and you're acting with a person where you're thinking, wow, they're really just waiting for lunch, I guess, or something. There's just not a lot going on here. But that's all I would say.
We all brought our
Exactly.
our
You bring your
A
A
game to
game,
this.
and you're saying, hey, I'm in this, and you're in this. Let's do it.
When I did the scene with Leah where I wake her bed, and we started to do that scene, and I'm like, you're my mom, and I'm like, see, look at her face. And I remember thinking exactly that. I remember looking in her eyes and, oh, she had it going on. I just draw for this. She's in this, and playing this character, just real, and I gotta rise to that level, and that's just really great. You feel like you owe it to the other actor, you owe it to the scene, you owe it to yourself, to try to rise to that level, and they're great, and everybody's good in this movie. But Chris, I tell this story all the time, but I need to tell you, there's a thing in the acting called Lady Bite, which is exposition. It's where you see it on all the TV shows where they go around and sort of CSI and everybody says something about information about the case, like they don't all know that. Murder is bad people. Remember that. But Red Future, his whole job is late night. His whole job is to learn exposition.
Just put that down anywhere.
Maybe people like Ron Stewart. So his whole job is to explain the rules of how about you put faster and then you want to do all that stuff. That can be big. But he got all that stuff done and he made it the text. He made it what the scene was about. And not just informing about the scene. He made it. He rewrote basically the commercial. It's amazing. He did all that stuff. He was telling me how it works. Get the mom out and the car and it just is done. And I just do it. And I just got to figure my life because it was just lost in me too.
You put 88 gigawatts of energy in every scene you did.
I just felt Doc never slows down. He's like one of these guys who sleeps for a half hour and he's up for the next 24. You know, he just gotta do this, gotta do that. And then he worries about everything he does. He worries that the space-time continuum is gonna be destroyed and we're all gonna go down the black hole or something. He's constantly worried that, for instance, going into, I forget how it went, he went into another time, and his Doc from that time was there, and they run into each other, but they can't acknowledge that they see each other. They don't know they're both there, because if they see each other, the space-time continuum will collapse. So there's constant anxiety.
You nailed it.
Yeah,
you did.
But
Yeah.
give me credit to Chris. Give me credit to Chris as an actor with all that stuff, all that business, all that science, all that stress in all of those scenes. He still really cares about Marty.
Yeah.
You know? And you see it and feel it, and man, that's acting. I'll tell you.
He feels very responsible for Marty. And he gets Marty into situations that he fears for. And it's his fault, his responsibility. Sorry.
Well, Chris, with the, as Michael said, you were laying so much pipe and establishing the rules of this universe. It was on you through your dialogue to establish the rules of this universe. Did you feel that pressure, or was it just like, oh, it's another set of lines that I have to do?
It was exciting because I was explicating about how things work, how the universe works. And Bob Gale wrote it so well. It was easy to really hang on, so.
Yeah.
And they were so intent on making every moment entertaining, and I remember Bob Zemeckis saying in Back to the Future 2, when I was supposed to be the drunken, Biff's bride, he was like, you're drunk, but you're still talking fast. And when I was like the 88-year-old lady, he goes, you're old, but you're still fast. It's a comedy, loud, fast, and simple. And so, he wanted to make sure that everything was entertaining and that the movie never lagged. So with that, he gave us, we had to have really high stakes. Everything had to be important. And everything had to be, and a lot of times actors get really tired or whatever, and they get bored or whatever, and the stakes get really small, like nobody cares. But he kept us going with the stakes, too, for sure.
Well, and I've just kind of been thinking about something that you mentioned earlier about, your daughter and kids' attachment to this franchise. Other than just why is there such a nostalgia for the 1980s? It's not just, and we see it this weekend, Lost Boys, Goonies, Back to the Future, there's so many great things that are with us and vibrant and feel like a very present part of the culture now and is reflected in new movies like It or shows like Stranger Things. Do you have any theories as to why the 1980s really has captured this? I don't think it's just because they're the kids of the adults, because now it's like the grandkids of the people that grew up in the 80s. Why do you think? Tom, do you have any thoughts?
I think the 80s truly was the beginning of the future. Because the 80s had Back to the Future. That's I bore people with my sociology of Back to the Future, but it's true that Back to the Future came out at the inception of cable television, at the inception of VHS tapes, of Betamax tapes, the first time in anyone's life where you owned your piece of pop culture, where you bought the movie, and people began coming up to me, or you guys say, I've seen it 263 times, I've counted. So it's the beginning of that where everyone's concentration on popular culture was of course popular from the 40s and the 50s and all that, Andy Warhol and arts and all that. But it was really the beginning of pop culture as a thing in people's psyches. I think just went up like that. The trend went up like that. As you could carry around your music in a Walkman and whatever music you liked, you could carry around, you could buy DVDs or whatever. So you had the ability to listen to everything portably everywhere. So much so that they began building the cars, the minivans, with a television screen behind the seat. So the kids can watch their shows in a car. God forbid they look at trees. But it was, in my opinion, the beginning of what we all know as, quote unquote, the future now, which is mostly when we talk about the future, we're talking about popular culture and technology.
Yeah.
I'm doing it in the sociology part of it. I was thinking there periods of expansion and contraction. And periods when it gets small, when you look in and the world gets tight, it gets tiny and mean and really pretty. There's times when we just like let out and anything we do it in that exploration. And the 80s were like that. The 80s were just like so new stuff. It's all like we expect to have it with the time. Like you said, you go from a teenager to so new, and it's just a new idea. And it was like we don't know where this is going to go. It's like Santa, like the 80s, we don't know where this is going to go. We just keep going anywhere. It was really like the 90s got a little tighter. I haven't been a big fan of grunge music, but when it came in with grunge music and Nirvana and the angst and inner contraction, and the 80s were Billy Idol.
Yeah.
And no way.
Any other thoughts on that, guys? I mean, those are two great answers. Any other input on why the 80s seem to be sticking around or coming back in a big way?
I direct the Goldbergs a lot, and I'm always thinking about that.
Yeah.
That's like super 80s. And it's really weird being in that world because they have all the toys and and the prop people have all this stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is insane. But I don't know. It seems to have been like you said, like a more hopeful time. I think maybe more expansive. I think that's why people like it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the 70s were, many of Jim's films, many of Chris's, if you look at those 70s movies, it was a much grittier time.
Yeah.
There were urban movies, New Yorkers, cops, that kind of thing, Serpico, all those kind of movies, Intent, Gene Hackman, The French Connection, these kind of movies that I love. But then the 80s come out, and then we've got to do something new, and everything had just more color. If you look at the movies, just more colorful palettes. In costumes and everything.
Yes.
Back to the Future is like candy. You just look at all these colors and going back to the 50s and all that kind of stuff. So it was just, different looks and attitudes. And even then, pardon me, it's sort of naive to be talking about, but even in the 80s, they had that attitude. It was very much, this is the 80s. Things are going to be new now. Steve Wozniak hosted a thing called the US Festival. Yeah. The first movement of hey, this self thing, it's going to be us. We're, you know, this in the all the global village kind of things and everything. So the 80s were very interesting, just exactly like Michael said, just like opening up like a party that the kids have with the colors everywhere in the air, you know, one of those kind of things.
Yeah.
We talk about Bob and Bob a lot. We bring it so Bob and about Yale, but it was Stephen's decade.
You're right.
Spielberg just created that whole idea of a bigger, special colored world. Like it's got a whole expansion of a movie universe. And I think that he had an effect on the movie too. And we sometimes don't, like, it's weird to say it to Steven Spielberg, we didn't give him credit. He was impressed on the movie. His take on film influenced those two young twins, Bob, and they took and made their own thing out of it. But Steven had a big effect in the 80s, a big effect when we saw the movie in the 80s.
Yeah.
So right.
Yeah.
I think it's very true.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and I just would say, like, you know, with Back to the Future, like, the heart, you know, like, you know, it's something we've touched on a lot, but, like, Marty is always spoke to me because he was a kid that didn't seem like he was overly popular, and he was hanging out with Doc, and, like, there was so much heart there that it felt real, and it was something that, like, I think it was inspiring. And I guess on that note, before we let you guys go, like, if there's any kind of, I don't know, other fond moment about, like, how this franchise didn't just change your life, but just how it makes you feel and how it continues to make you feel. Just any final thoughts on that? I know that's
Down the road.
Yeah, James.
What does it make you feel, Jim?
It makes me feel very grateful that Robert Zemeckis thought of me, that I should be part of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom.
I'm just, you know, I was a guy in acting classes that wasn't sure I was any good at it. And I was just kept trying and trying, you know, and just like everybody. I'm just, you know, I'm from Philadelphia, and I went to New York, and I studied, and it seemed like I had talent. A couple of teachers said, you know, you have real talent. But you don't know. You don't know. So you start being a professional actor, and you just think, boy, if I could just get some commercials, that'd be great. I mean, I could pay for some of my bills doing commercials. And, you know, and I got a gum commercial. Yes! I'm in a gum commercial. I did a Kentucky Fried Chicken commercial where I introduced biscuits. Yes! Biscuit commercial. But then I get cast in a movie, and, you know, I'm not sure. I thought that's very, very deep water for an actor to be in. So I can't believe the good fortune to meet and work with such professional actors like this, to be thought of well by an audience around the world. Honestly, I'm so grateful and thankful to everyone to have been able, and still do, to be able to just be a professional actor and work and be recognized just for being able to be up here. You know what I mean? My son plays baseball, and this right here, this is the Super Bowl team right here, you know? And I was with them in the Super Bowl, you know? And it's an amazing feeling. And I've talked too much about it, but it is absolutely amazing and wonderful to me.
It's a beautiful thing. It's certainly a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I relate to a lot. Well, you know, when I started out, I had no confidence whatsoever that I was going to get anywhere or work as much as I've been fortunate enough to do. But Back to the Future is like, you know, hitting the bullseye, so to speak. I mean, I feel like there's not a day goes by where Back to the Future isn't somehow related to what I'm doing that day. It's pervasive. You know, people you meet, Back to the Future helped me so much to get more work, other work, and keep, doing what we're doing right second, you know, it just doesn't stop. You know, it's like a runaway train.
We have final thoughts?
Just, y'all are so awesome. Thank you for coming out here tonight. It means so much to us. And, you know, I also want to thank you for your wonderful...
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
And the wonderful signers.
Yes.
Thank you for the translators. There's 2 of them. And I did switch to birth, so I know how hard it is. And I have such appreciation for what you do. Thank you. And I just, you know, I think all the same things. I'm a little girl from Minnesota. I was a ballet dancer. And, you know, I never thought I'd be here. I never thought I'd get to see you guys again once the movie was over. So I'm getting verklempt, like you said. And my love for, you know, a lot of times we spend these really intense times with each other when we make movies, and sometimes we never see each other again, but the love is still really strong. Like you were talking about, you look somebody in the eyes and you were talking about it too. You know, we were all together, you know, working so hard and having, you know, these really intense connections making this film. And it's really beautiful to be able to meet up again and to meet the people, because you don't, if someone says 1 million people saw a movie, it doesn't mean anything to you, but when we can look out here and see all of you and know that we touched you, it's very lovely that you came out, so thank you, and thank you guys.
And guys, we have reached the end of our time. If you have the backstage pass, I want you to stay seated, stick around. We're going to give you further instructions, and then we're going to clear out the theater. However, on that very poignant, sweet note, please give it up for the cast of Back to the Future. Give it for James, Tom, Chris, Lana, and Michael. Back to the Future, guys. Thank you for that.
Nope.